So welcome everybody to the Your Desired Success Foundation Mastermind, all around paying it forward with the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have done unto you, coming from a higher level of consciousness and vibration. Now, Napoleon Hill, author of Think and Grow Rich and many other books of success, when he spoke about the power of the mastermind, he said, "It is the principle through which you may borrow and use the education, the experience, the influence, and perhaps the capital of other people in carrying out your own plans in life. It is the principle through which you can accomplish in 1 year more than you could accomplish without it in a lifetime if you depended entirely on your own efforts for success." So we'll start off with the Mastermind Principles to lay the foundation of the call with Eva.
The purpose of the Mastermind is to share our value and connect with like-minded people in order to create wealth in all areas of our lives.
We are here to inspire and challenge each other to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success, as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distractions during meetings.
We are collaborative and we listen without interrupting, lecturing or judging.
We celebrate each other's success without jealousy.
We are honest and participate, giving thoughtful feedback.
Now it's you, Monday.
We are open and listening to different perspectives without being defensive or offending or offering excuses.
Good on you, mate. We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We are focused, but we also think it is important to have fun during meetings.
We are real and authentic. This is a no BS zone.
Eva?
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the high forces, one mind, one soul, one love.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for just laying the foundation of the call there. So as I mentioned, today we're discussing around the brain. Now, there's no doubt been times in your life where you've looked at somebody and thought, do you even have one? Are you even activating it? So, and it could be a partner, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be somebody else driving on the road. So let's just touch on the power of the brain here. Napoleon Hill asserts the brain is similar to a radio. Just like a radio, your brain operates at specific set frequencies. In the case of your brain, these frequencies are emotions: love, hate, despair, fear, confidence, and more. A radio can only provide sound when the transmitter and receiver are set to the same frequency. In the same way, if you want your brain to provide wealth, then you have to make sure that your emotions reflect that frequency. If your brain is set to a frequency of despair and poverty, then that is all you will be able to manifest via the infinite intelligence, because the only signal that the infinite intelligence sends that you will be able to pick up. But when you set your brain to a frequency of love, confidence, and feeling abundant, then you will naturally manifest those things. When we adjust our mental frequency, we have the ability to communicate, not just from one finite brain to another, but to the mind of infinite intelligence as well. So with that in mind, who would like to start by wrapping up what they received from this chapter? Oh, crikey. So let's look then at the discussion around, I don't know why you're also quiet and nervous, but let's look at the discussion around what was said there around Napoleon Hill sharing it with transmitters and receivers. Now, we've all heard this. I'm confident we've all heard this said. Can anyone give me a time or an example of when you've become aware of this, the true power of it?
Very difficult.
Okay.
It is a gradual process, isn't it? It's a gradual process. First you don't know, then you hear about it, then you think, no, this is not me. And then finally it sets in as a real possibility. But but accessing it and really getting it at all times is still a challenge.
Yeah.
But it's very much that he puts together the brain, which, thinking and emotions and vibrations. Since different people have done different things, in the researched brains, but I think what he says is extremely important for the purpose. So it doesn't really matter what has been discovered later. It's for our purpose, raising our vibrations. This is basically what it is, about raising vibrations when we realize that they are low.
Yeah. So a good example of this then, would we say that when somebody has sent you a text message and you were thinking of them, or somebody all of a sudden has called when you were thinking of them, or thought, oh, I must contact them about something, and then next thing they appear in some way, shape or form?
But the very real thing about telepathy, now, so it does exist. And many of us have absolute proof of that. And so that is sending messages, sending vibrations, in the right direction. So yes, because I have experienced it, and I have no doubt about it.
Yeah, good, Eva. What I found through this, I think there's 2 more chapters to go at this point where we're at to complete the book. And what I've realized continuously throughout is Napoleon constantly repeats himself. He's constantly trying to just get it to sink in, especially, bearing in mind, this was studied over a very long period of time, 20 plus years, that was then all written down and published in 1937. And we're receiving it now in a time where it's believed that there needs to be 18 touch points of the same material before it will sink in, because of the world we live in today. So just think of the power of that. If it takes you to listen to something at least 18 times through repetition, and the power's in repetition, we need to keep, Napoleon needed to keep reiterating the importance of the ability to go back to the desire. Everything keeps talking about it. Even in this chapter, they kept going back to auto-suggestion, because they said there's 3 key areas. There's the subconscious mind, which is the broadcaster. Then there's and then what was it? I had it written down. Creative imagination is the receiver. So we've put it out there, then it comes back to us to actually start thinking around how we're going to create that. And then there is the final part of it, is auto-suggestion, the way that we're choosing to communicate. So if we look at that most people just go, the brain's helping me walk, move, function, logic, think, but they don't. When I say think, would we agree that most people don't actually use it to its maximum efficiency, including ourselves? We're learning these things and we desire to be implementing it the best we can, but we still have these barriers we've got to break through, or hurdles we've got to jump over, because of the conditioning we've allowed to happen. So this shifting that's taking place. So we hear Napoleon and we go, oh, well, that all sounds really easy. I just need to think better. I just need to connect with the emotion. That sounds easy, but in reality, it's not. It's not, because of the world we live in, because of the way that through repetition, we've basically created ourselves to be at a point where we're now trying to peel those layers off and break free of these, these chains that we can't physically see. to start living this life that we desire at this point. That's what I was receiving from it, and going, okay, well, it's constantly taking me back. It keeps reminding me about how am I communicating to myself. And then, as I mentioned at the start of this call, today's been a challenging day for me, just getting back into things. And even this morning, I couldn't figure out what I was going to be doing. I've got plenty to do, but I just couldn't get into it. And it was only once I came on the computer and I opened it up, and because of the way that I work, I have like tasks to do and documents and so on. And once I stepped into that space, everything became crystal clear. But beforehand, I couldn't step into that space. I just couldn't figure out what I was going to be doing and what was the next step, because I was just in a different environment. And I think that's where there's the key around that thing around transmitters and receivers, being clear as to, and I think it's a great place to be as well, when Jim Rohn said one of the things where he failed, based on what failure meant to Jim, was that when he was at the beach, he was with his family, he was thinking about being at work. But when he was at work, he was thinking about being at the beach with his family. So he was never being productive. And I think it's really important when we look at that, of going, okay, if I have it structured in the whatever works for you, if you have it structured from an angle of, for me, I come onto the computer, I open the document, I'm then in that zone and I'm able to function effectively. When I'm not on the computer and I don't have the document in front of me, I'm not in that zone. Therefore, I can be in the zone that needs my attention, which is, in this case, with family, whilst we've been back. So the brain needs that respite. The brain needs that ability to transmit, to receive, and to disconnect. Does this make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So what's coming up for any of you as this is being shared?
I think it's a really good point that you're making, to focus on what we're doing at the present moment and to not crave things that aren't there. That's the example you just gave of the guy at the beach missing his family, because my husband works away, and when he's not here, I don't tend to miss him, although it would be really helpful to have him here. So I do want him here, but I have a way of not getting all emotionally upset about it. But yeah, I've always been like that. He's done it for over 10 years, been working away. But I'm thinking, is that right? Because I'm not making any inroads to getting him here.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think, how do I do this next without getting myself all emotionally upset, because that's not what I want. So I'm thinking, while you're saying this, yeah, I'm able to focus on the chunks, but manifesting him being here to be with my children. But is it meant to be that way? I'm not sure. So when he is here, it's fabulous. And when he's not here, I'd like my children to have more people around us to support us, which we do have, but it's not my husband. So I don't know whether I'm still hanging on to the fact that I would like that, but I am appreciating this current moment. I am okay. I am. But so, yeah, there's a lot of things in there.
There is, Holly, and what's interesting, I don't know whether anybody else picked up on this. There's two sides to the emotion. There's the positive and the negative. So you have the opportunity to step into what we would class as the negative of, I want my husband here, he's not here, I wish he was here for the kids, I wish he was here for me, I wish we could create these new memories together, and emotionally get upset because it's not happening.
Yeah.
Or there's the other side of where you were saying before about, like, you're in the present moment now, but it's that thing of where Napoleon's talking about around shifting into that creative aspect and saying, I'm so grateful for what I experience when my husband's here and what the children experience together, and that energy that we feel, that's the energy I'm going to step into when he's not here, to create what I want to create in order for him to be here permanently.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I didn't quite grasp that last bit. Can you just say that last bit again?
Okay, so if I bring it into, if I bring it into maybe a different way of explaining it, okay, here's a way for me. When we're on the road and we are traveling from one place to another. There is a lot that we're taking in. I'm seeing a lot of different things, and it's all new and exciting, and I'm feeling the emotion of it.
Yeah.
But there's two things happening there and then. There's one side of me that was like, I want to get to the destination. I want to see the beach. I want to go snorkeling. I want to spend time with Beth. I want to be chasing the dogs and having fun. And then so that's the side that I'm stepping into that energy in that space. But there's the other side of, instead of being present in the moment, but there's the other side of, I'm not enjoying the drive. So bearing in mind, I don't want to be driving. I just want to get there. There's the other side of it. If I don't enjoy this moment right now, how am I going to be able to enjoy when I get to the beach? Yeah. So with where you're at right now, I would look at, when you're thinking around, because I picked up that you kind of felt like you would go more into a negative emotion, like a form of loss from your husband not being there. That's what I was feeling when you were talking. So what I'm saying is shift that into a positive that propels you forward, as like a burning desire to say, when my husband is here, like step in and embody that energy when your husband's there, and the kids, and how, look at your kids, look at what's going on, feel into the present moment. And then when he's not there, take that energy, that experience that you experienced right there, the energy that was shifting the way you were, and put it into what you want to create. Because like the subconscious, what we covered last week, and the brain that we covered this week, the way that you think is what you are going to attract. So if you stay in that negative, I'm not saying you're being negative, but if you stay in that negative energy of, he's not here, I wish he was, then that's going to be what remains. But if you step into the positive, even though he's not physically here, he's energetically there.
Yes.
Because I'm pretty confident, I mean, I'm going to make an assumption here, but you're saying quite confidently that you want him there, and therefore I think that he would like to be there as well.
Yeah, he would, yeah.
So you both have the desire. So if you both tap into that energy, that when he's, for him, even when he's not there, he's able to go, what I'm doing right now helps Holly do what she needs to do for us as a family, because I know you're working online, to help us as a family create something. My role right now is to help support the ability for that, to give them the space for her to create that.
Yeah.
And through doing that and nurturing her as best I can, and you being able to access this kind of community that you've got access to, you're then able to be supported through the journey when he's not there.
Yeah. It's funny because I was talking with Rose there last night, and we were saying that she was talking about, if she has this, then she might lose something. And I was saying, yeah, I feel a bit like that. What happens if he comes home and then we don't have any money? But then I was saying to her, we can put the and word in, and we can have the money and the people. So I need to apply that to myself. So that's something like, so to bring on those nice feelings of Nikki being here, my husband being here when he's not, to be in that manifestation mode, to feel those good feelings, that pretending he's here when he's not, sort of thing. I need to know that I can have money as well. It's going to be okay. So I think that was the only thing that was holding me back from conjuring up those feelings. So it's going full circle with what Rosa was saying last night as well, and maybe that's other people too.
Yeah, it's really powerful what you share in there, Holly, because it's, I'm sure that most of us at some point have felt that or will feel that. It's irrelevant of whether it's a partner working away or not. There's times when we feel that.
You're grateful for where you're at. You're okay with it, but you would like more, but you don't want to, go, God, you're not doing enough for me. And then he goes, right, you're going to take this for wanting more. So I think it's not true what I've just said. And I think this conversation is so potent right now that, I have the space. I've got everything. You are allowed to want more. And let's just take baby steps and think of the and word. We can have the husband home, you can have the money, you can have the family, you can have it all. It's going to be okay. So if I want my husband home, it's going to be okay, because that's my desire, that's what I want. I don't have to fear it.
Oh,
Let's see how that goes.
if we go back, and as I mentioned, I haven't got the book here with me, but if we go back to the chapter of desire, throughout that, Napoleon said in the 6 steps, think about what you want, what is right for you, then create a plan. Well, you got it though. Well, the second was, what do you give in order to receive that? So it's one thing to look and say, well, I want my husband back, but what are you going to do in order for you to be rewarded with your husband back?
Yeah.
And that's so when I read out my desire a couple of weeks ago, and I went through and I said, I told the universe, whatever you believe, for me, it's the universe. And God to me is grand organizing design. You know, I was brought up Catholic, but God to me is grand organizing design. So a higher energy. And the angle of what I said was that this is what I desire. This is the reason why I desire it. And this is what I'm willing to give in order to receive it. So I've been very clear. Now, what will happen is over that time is if we imagine a true exchange, because money is just an energy that's willing to flow. So therefore, and when we go back to what was said in the chapter, it was talking around the vibratory level wanting to come in. What are we matching? Now, with that in mind, when I said around, I'm going to be hosting and facilitating masterminds and masterclasses, I'm going to be showing up and doing different things. I am able now to look and go, okay, where am I doing that in my daily, weekly, monthly schedule? I'm able to put that in place so that I know that, hang on a minute, the contract that I have with the infinite intelligence, the divine, is that I am going to do this, and in return, I am going to receive this. And it's been very clear. Now, if I don't do what I intend to do or what I've agreed to do, why should I be rewarded with what I said that I wanted? Because we always get, we are always being given to, but for many of us, we're not getting what we actually want because we've not been clear and put it out there what we actually want. You know, when people say, I want financial freedom, well, what does that look like to you? Because that's completely different to me than what it looks like to you. Because do you know what? What I've become to realize, freedom's in the mind. Financial freedom, it's in the mind. Because I could easily be, we've been able to travel around part of Western Australia on exactly the same money that we were getting. We've not had any more money. We've been able to travel around Australia and experience and live in alignment with our core values, experience new things together. Now, a lot of people look in on that. There'll be people that go, and this is where you've got the two sides. He lives out of a caravan. What a bum. And the other side will go, wow, he travels around Australia. What a lifestyle. See how there's two completely different views? And one will say, I'm broke. And the other one will say, wow, he must be really wealthy. It's irrelevant of what my financial status is. What's important is, how am I choosing to show up in my life? And in my desire, I said, I will live my life in accordance with my core values: gratitude, experience, and connection. Every day, I am living my life on some level across those three. So what it encourages me to do is to show up for myself, knowing that I'm serving myself and therefore I will be rewarded. Does that make sense? I mean, this call isn't about me, but I just thought I'd share that side.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, if I might say, Martin, I really like you sharing that, because it just dawned on me, that's the path I've been on for over the last year. I haven't got that mindset that you've got yet. It's been very hard to get the old way of thinking out. And I said the path that I'm on is, I've got to realize, no matter what I'm doing in my life, every day is worthwhile. Every day is great. money is not an object. It's like one of the things that I felt led, why I'm on this path is like, why am I driving or have me driving taxis? The income sucks, particularly with COVID. And that's been nice. Sorry. Oops, I'm sure I'm being negative. I promise. Oh, well, I didn't do the commitment at the beginning of the mastermind meeting, so I can be accepted, I guess. But you can see what I'm getting at. One night I drove for 6 hours, and after the GST and giving the bossies bit, I got about $40. That's for 6 hours driving. Yes. Pathetic, doesn't run. But, you know, it's what I'm doing. And as I said, helping people, a bit like some of the principles of Mastermind, really. Sitting, helping people. Sometimes, you know, lady of partners in jail, her 2 kids were taken off that day. She was 19, maybe. I thought, crikey, that's what. She just needed someone to talk to and who can encourage her. And I did my best, and I gave her a trip all the way out to Caboolture, I think it was. Another one was a 25-year-old woman who had a daughter taken off her because she was an ice addict. She was looking going to rehabilitation. One thing that really struck her was that I was a male who was prepared to listen to her, you know. And these are things that I'm doing, and I'm, you know, I realize I'm appreciative. I'm doing something. I don't have to get money or earn money or do anything to get it, but it's treasures, if you like, life experiences, which you, when you put the money, everything aside, you actually see this. You see more of the value around you, I think, and you might be able to put value in others. So, yeah, but I'd like to be able to travel around Queensland and money never be an object. So I'm going to hang on to that, mate. Thanks for that.
You're welcome, Roger, and thanks for sharing, because I think it is really important we look at what the lessons are. So a great friend of mine who's a mentor of mine, Corey Gatesionis, who's in the YDS community, he actually says that most people say, why is this happening? Instead of what is the lesson here? So in that example of what I received there from Roger was Roger's lesson, what he's actually learning is the ability to communicate more effectively, to listen to people, to be able to be there. Because with what we're creating within the community, it's really about the people. It's really about a higher level of consciousness. It's about being there, supporting people, irrelevant of where they're going, and of no financial benefit to you. It's truly about serving on a higher level. And that's what's being created in NG in particular is unheard of. We have heard that somebody's tried to do it and failed, because unfortunately some people come in with an agenda of taking. They're not willing, because most of society, bearing in mind, is conditioned to believe that, well, if I give my time, I should receive something back, and it should come by the end of the week or by the end of the month, if that's what the contract says. And then that's the way they behave. Because most people haven't actually been sat down and educated around the universal laws. They haven't been educated around the 13 principles taught in Think and Grow Rich. So for those of us who dive into that, or those, you know, I've got Working with the Law here by, you can see it there, Working with the Law there, Raymond Hollywell. That's a fantastic book. We masterminded on each one of those laws in great detail in the leadership group in YDS, and it was just phenomenal what we learned from each other. And these, when you hear about these things, you go, hang on a minute. And I know this will probably be singing from Ever's hymn book as well. Why aren't we taught these things in school? Like, these are the foundation that we as human beings need to build upon. And for some of us, we're only finding out about them in our golden years in life, let alone in our childhood years in life. So, you know, I'm very grateful that I found out now. There's some people in the community, they're in the 20s, and I'm like, wow, I wish I was your age. But hey, it's not just about learning about them. It's about, what are we going to do with that information? What are we going to do to help expand on it? So it's definitely some powerful lessons. And that's a great question to ask ourselves. What is the lesson I'm receiving from this, to help me on the next part of my journey, especially if you're clear on your desire, especially if you're clear on that, because the plan will unfold before you. don't need to sit there rattling your brain and I should know the plan. The plan will just literally unfold before you, and people will come in and you'll go, the question then you go is, does this align with where I'm going? Remember, if you got in Roger's taxi and he just started driving you around, you'd be like, where are you going? And Roger's like, well, I don't know where I'm going. You haven't told me where I'm going. So I'm just going to drive until we finally get somewhere there. And you get somewhere and he goes, right, out you go. And you go, well, this isn't where I want to go. That's because you haven't been clear on your desire. So you just, so we're literally going around in life getting lost unless we're clear.
I have a session now. You want really?
Is anything coming up for anybody around that?
Sorry, I'm very sorry.
That's all right, Eva. Hillary?
I don't know if I've got anything coming up for that, but what Holly was talking about, or we were talking about before, about like getting in the zone, if you like. I know that Holly and Rosa know that that's how I like work when I do my things like online. I have to get into a zone and get everything ready, and I'm like have to, and it really works for me. So I just do things, and like rather than just go, oh God, I've got to do something today and I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to be there and present doing what I'm doing and really feeling into it.
Yeah. So would you say when the Darren Hardy shared it so well, especially I did a training, I'm not sure whether I'm going to do it again. I may do it at some point, but there's a training around that when you step into this space of, let's say, entrepreneurship, let's just use the word entrepreneurship, and you're working from home, the problem is that the home is where the family is, okay, whether that be a partner or children or grandchildren, whatever it would be. And to them, every room is available, okay? So that's just the way it is. Well, when you step into your own home business, there needs to be a place where you walk into it, and that is the environment where you're most effective. And everybody knows that when that door is closed, mom or dad or brother or sister, whoever it may be, is in the zone. And unless the house is burning down or there's an absolute emergency, nobody enters that room or knocks on the door and respects that time. And the way that it works effectively and efficiently is when people who are living in the house or have access to the house understand why it's being done, why you're doing what you're doing. Because most people, they're willing to put their opinion and their beliefs on top of us because of a lack of understanding as to where we want to go.
Yeah, that's true.
So being very clear, and that way as well, when we step into that room, Beth knows when I open the laptop, I don't want to be hearing about dog videos and stuff like that and things that are going on that are of no value to me in that moment, because I need to be in the zone. Because to me, I'm talking about helping impact millions of lives around the world in this lifetime and beyond. So it's not, for me, I treat it as if somebody needs CPR and I'm there and I'm given that gift to help them. Now, that might sound a bit over the top to some of you, but that's the kind of energy that I have behind what I do, because it's important to me and I feel that this is why I'm here. Now, I also know that I can't give CPR to everybody, but the reality of it is that I can give it to those who are ready and I am available to give it to. So,
well, that's the thing, isn't it? Not everybody's ready for it.
No.
Not everybody wants it.
And those who need it the most that we see, often don't. And it's especially if it's somebody that we care about, it's challenging. But what we're to realize as well is that the hardest thing I learned was I can't help everybody. Like I wanted to help everybody, and I think Jim Rohn said you'll end up killing yourself trying. And then who can you help? Nobody. So letting go and just focusing on helping yourself and letting that overflow that people are attracted to that and say, hey, something about you is resonating with me, whether that be somebody we're already connected to or not. I think Ryan, he's just busy with a few of the things from America. He's moving to Australia, and he was talking to his mentor, who I think is a family member. And he said, I'd love to find somebody in Australia that's on my level of growing and I can trust as a mentor. And this guy said, Martin, he's the real deal. I've watched him, and I've never met this guy at all. Don't know who this guy is that's referred, but that's the power of when we choose to show up as ourselves, giving value. People will naturally find us because we're transmitters and receivers. He put it out there, we found each other, and I'm sure we're going to build a great friendship, irrelevant of where it goes within your desired success or NG or anything else. It's about the friendship, the connection, the ability that he knows that if he reaches out to me and says, hey, I'm stuck on this, what would your opinion be? I'm more than happy to provide him with it.
Yeah, and sometimes we were talked about this last night, actually. Sometimes when you get something, it's not always what you expected. Like the three of us all expected it, called out for a team, and we got best team, but not what we expected, which is brilliant.
Yeah, there's a great saying from my spiritual coach, said this to me: you don't get what you want, you get what you need.
Yeah, true.
And I was like, I don't like that. She said, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not, that's the reality. And I went, all right, okay, I'll accept it. And it is, but it's because we have this perception of what we actually need. And it's not that in many cases. No, I would never have said I needed to go through depression and all that journey to awaken me, but I did. And I'm so grateful I did, because if I reflect on the path I was going, yeah, I would have been okay, but I would have lived a life of existence and not one of fulfillment. And that's no judgment to anybody who's on that path doing what I was doing. But there's obviously a bigger reason and bigger purpose for me being here. And what I think Wayne Dyer said it on the movie The Shift. Has anybody here watched the movie The Shift? I know my mum has.
No.
Yeah. Fantastic movie, The Shift, on YouTube, 2 hours. And where Wayne talks about that sometimes it can happen in a dream, a quantum shift, or it can be a massive thing that happens in your life that turns everything around for you. And for me, it was a massive thing. But for some people, it's just been they've awoken from a dream and everything's changed. The best 2 hours of your day, yeah. And I love what Monday said here. Life is not about being better than someone else. It's about being better than you used to be, discovering who you truly are and fulfilling your life. Very powerful, that Monday, yeah. And that's a question to ask at the end of your day. When you're doing your abundance game, maybe I do my abundance game at the end of the day, log in, track it, and ask, am I better than I was when I woke up this morning? If the answer is no, why not? Where could I have improved? What could I have done differently? Not from a point of disempowering, from a point of empowerment to go, okay, let's go again, because tomorrow's a new day. Eva, did you put your hand up?
I think I just wanted to say that sometimes it's a moment, and sometimes it's a very gradual process. It happens differently for different people.
Oh,
and it sometimes goes up and down until it gets where it needs to be.
Yeah. And everything that's taken place based on my experience is, I have people around me who are classed as leaders. Okay, I'm going to use this, leaders in between this. And yet, and there's a lot of hype and used, and yet the actions don't actually match what they say, which then goes integrity. That's probably one of the most powerful words, integrity. So it's easy to say what you're going to do, who we're going to be. But one of the things Lisa Bowen said so fantastically to me, she says, when we were talking around core values, she went, most people's core values is integrity, honesty, transparency, authenticity. And she said, and I really love hearing those words. And then I turn around to them and I say, are they your core values? Would you say that they're your top? And they go, oh yeah. When was there a time in your life when you weren't honest to yourself? When was there a time in your life you didn't show integrity to yourself? Because when you're not in the public eye, how are you behaving with yourself? I was like, wow.
Yes,
Yes.
but sometimes the values may be there and we may still not be there, but we are aspiring, you know. So that may be my value, but I'm still going there, you know. So that's another.
We're having a human experience. So there's I grew up on a building site for most of my late teens and early 20s, and I'm, as you know, I'm English, so a sign of affection is sarcasm and taking the mickey. But I remember when I was in the mental hospital, I went out for a walk one morning and there was somebody across the road walking down the road, head down, looked really down, and my instant judgment was, oh, what's up with them? As in negative, like, oh, why are they being so miserable? And I pulled myself up in that moment and said, hang on, you have no right to judge that person, to come from a negative space. And I chose to forgive myself and send myself love and to send them love in that moment. But would I say I'm the kind of person who's kind to people, considerate to people, has an open heart to people? Absolutely. But there are moments because of the conditioning that comes in, and I go, oh, hang on a minute. Now the old Martin would have let it go and gone, I'm not bothered. But the Martin today is constantly going back and going, hang on a minute. Is that the way that I want to show up in the world? Is that the way that I would like people to behave towards me? If my head's down and I'm feeling low, I mean, bearing in mind, this was 2014, so 7 years ago, but it's still relevant today. It's still as relevant because that was a lesson to learn from. The values are 100% important, but at the same time, also knowing that our values shift. Most people say that family's a value. And when I don't have family in my top 5, they're like, oh, how can you not have family? Well, family's up there, but it's not my top core value in the top 5. Now, people will judge me, and this is where we got to be aware of this, is when especially with the online space, and I'm not speaking about anybody in particular or any platform or company or whatever, but we need to be aware. If we're unclear on what our values are and we're not living in accordance with them, then I guarantee we will end up living in accordance with somebody else's values, and they'll be our voids. And we'll be on a path that is not serving us. Now, when Napoleon spoke about earlier in the book around intelligent followers and basically non-intelligent followers, you have a choice. If somebody inspires you, you can follow them and be inspired by them and learn from them and implement it into your own life. The same way as what we're discussing now is to take that information away and look at how you can implement it into your own life. But if you're a non-intelligent learner, then you will just keep wandering around as what Napoleon referred to as a drifter in Outwitting the Devil, never going in a direction that is truly serving you. So the power of listening to people on these calls and any other calls you may be on when people are talking, is to be picking up on things and going, okay, that resonated with me. Why did that resonate with me? What am I feeling about that? Does that fit in with where I want to go? Does anybody have any views on that? I have no attachment to anybody saying, I don't agree with you at all, Martin. I think you're talking out your bum. I have no attachment to it.
I agree 100%.
That's the answer ever. That's the only answer that I need to hear.
I may not always agree 100%, but this time I do.
Yeah, Martin, I agree with you too.
Yeah, and I appreciate the nodding of heads and the agreeing. But once again, it's about that thing of going, okay, well, what was it? Bob Proctor spoke about, and I'll ask this question: what's the difference between reacting and responding? What is the difference between reacting and responding? What would you say it is for you?
Response needs reflection. And reaction doesn't. It doesn't involve reflection. It's immediate.
At times when someone reacts, you may not really look at, react from emotion. Probably you have to think or look at what has happened. You just react. But when you respond, you actually look at it before you reacting. So reacting is when you react without even thinking, out of the emotion, without to anger or whatever. That is what it is. That's the difference between them.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks, Monday. Mama, so you put your hand up.
Yeah, I certainly reacted this morning because we've got friends coming over, and one of the sets of friends always sleeps in our bed, so I completely stripped the bed this morning, remade it, to get a text message to say we're not coming till tomorrow. And this little hot-headed Italian just absolutely lost it. And Dave was really annoyed with me. And normally now I'm quite okay with it and I'm fine with it. But normally I would have carried that on the whole weekend. But I certainly reacted. And like Monday says, when you react, it's because you don't think, like Dave kept saying to me, you don't know what's happened to them. And until you know what's happened to them, you can't get annoyed. But all I could think about was, I was up at 6 o'clock this morning, and that's all I could think about. Me, what about me? Instead of what's happening to them, which if I'd have, but it was nice really to see the reaction, and then it did take me half an hour, 3/4 of an hour to then start looking at, right, okay, I should not have reacted like that. I should have, but it is, I think we do things, without thinking, without meaning it. It's just a reaction, isn't it?
The thing with me is that with age, my time to get over the reaction is shorter and shorter. But there's still reaction.
I think, and that's a great point, Eva, as well. But I think I just want to congratulate my mum on that. She said it took around about 30 to 45 minutes to calm down and sort herself out and go through that process. But I do remember a time. So let me just bring this into perspective for you. It was, for me, it was 28 years ago. I came home with my brother with an earring in, and my mum didn't speak to us for 4 days. So, that's how angry she would be over a bloody earring. So a stud in my ear. But anyway, and Bob Proctor asked a group of teenagers this question: what is the difference between reacting and responding? And he said this 15-year-old girl was looking up to the sky in the classroom and looking up to the ceiling, and she put her arm up and she said, reacting is a habit. Reacting is a habit. To respond is to take our time and think. And he said that was the best answer he'd ever heard. And it's to look at that process and go, as we said, there is the reaction, just something inside. One of the great things that Wayne Dyer had said was, when you squeeze an orange, what comes out? When you squeeze an orange, what comes out? It's not apple juice, it's not melon juice, it's orange juice. So when you get squeezed, what comes out of you? Is it frustration? Is it anger? Is it love? Is it joy? And it's the opportunity. It's not an opportunity to beat ourselves up. It's an opportunity to then look and go, okay, how did I react to that? Did I take the time to just think about it, process it, and respond? Sometimes when a message comes through that actually is just irritating me and my ego wants to respond, I'll just unread that message or unread that email, and I'll go away and I'll leave it. And it'll still be eating away in my head. My brain will be going overload, but I go away and I think about it and I come back and I go, okay, this is the way that I'm going to respond to this. And I'm going to reread it and I go, okay, I'm happy with that. Knowing that there is a different situation here. And unless I'm going to ask and the person is going to communicate authentically with me. So I just had a situation where I'm here, someone else is here, and there's two people in the middle, and the two people in the middle who are orchestrating something for their own benefit are telling a lie to this person and a lie to me to get what they want. And yet him and I are in communication and going, well, why are they lying? And the response that I gave to him was, as Eva said, it's not worth my time. My time is far more valuable than dealing with this right now. I would rather just let them do what they want to do and go off on their own path, because remember the power of this. The universe is always watching. When we cheat the laws, what are we going to get back? We are going to be cheated on what we desire. These are the things to be looking at. Why it was, I think Bob had said around, I think he was talking about the law of compensation. And he said, when we were growing up, and some of you may have heard this, especially if you come from a Catholic side, because I remember this from church. If you sin, the price of sin is death. Okay, whatever sin was, the price of sin is death. And Bob was saying that when he used to go to Sunday school, he was like, oh, I was terrified. But then what they told me was a sin I did, and I didn't die. And I thought, ooh, I'll do that again. And I didn't die. But what he realized later on in life was that his goals died. The things that he wanted to come to fruition died. Relationships died. They didn't go where he expected them or intended for them to go. So this is where we start looking on that level where we're all in a great place right now as we're growing each day and each week and each month and so on, where we're able to shift that and go, okay, if the price of sin, and that would be thinking negatively towards somebody, acting in a manner that is out of alignment, whatever it would be, then to turn around and go, well, what is it that I desire that is actually going to be, that is either going to die or a barrier be put up? Why can't I get to this point? Why can't my husband be back? Why can't I achieve that to pay off the mortgage? Why can't I do this? Why can't my book be created? Like just it's all those things of going, okay, where is it that I'm out of alignment? Where is it that, what is it that I've done that I can go, okay, well, I realize now that I did that. It wasn't my intention to behave that way. I reacted, and I take that back. I send myself love, the universal law, forgiveness. I forgive myself. I forgive if there was anybody else involved, and I move forward. And it's not I forgive and I carry on thinking negatively towards this person. And it's a hard thing, forgiveness to self and to somebody else, especially somebody who's, you would say, has done harm. But maybe the greatest lesson was you needed that, because once you're able to connect with that true level of forgiveness, you got into the essence of it, and things start taking place based on what you want to achieve. It's kind of linked with the brain, as in transmitting and receiving, but it's certainly something that we can look at. Hey, Eva, bye-bye. I do have to go as well. But thank you, Eva. So
bye-bye, thank you.
You're welcome. So is there anything anybody just wants to wrap up with before we go?
I just thought that what you just said there, Martin, was brilliant. But what I get confused about is, if you think negative, then things don't come. But you do see some people who really are really quite aggressive and things like that. And they seem to have it. They seem to have it all, and they seem everything they want. It seems to fall in the palm of the hand, and you kind of you sometimes you think negative without even realizing you've thought negative. If you get what I mean.
Yeah. So if you in the moment of you behaving that way, and you may not realize that in that moment you've been negative. It may only come to you later on. But in that moment, you needed to practice that way. Remember, everything's a practice. So you needed to practice that way to be able to reflect. Now, remember, and also be aware that it's our own judgment as to what the success is for somebody based on where we want to go. So if somebody, for instance, is, I don't know, a 7-figure earner, let's just, because that's a big one in the online space. I'm a 7-figure earner, and you're like, why are they a 7-figure earner? I'm doing everything that I can do. Why aren't I financially secure, and so on? And they're doing things that are non-compliant, or they're doing things, blah, 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 that are lack of integrity. Remember this. This is a really, really powerful one that I got taught from a billionaire mentor of mine. He said, success is only rented. Success is only rented. That means, how are you continuing to show up? How many people in our lifetime have had what we would class as society success, financial fortune, you know, the cars, the boats, the houses, whatever it would be, have had that, and all of a sudden they've lost it? How many people have gone bankrupt? Donald Trump, whether you love him or loathe him, has gone bankrupt, I think, 6 times. He was born with money. You know, there's a lesson there to learn, but he's also an extremely financially wealthy guy. However, he's gone and got there. So he's learned along the lesson and done things to try and fix what he was doing that was wrong. But our angle is to look at it and go, you know, we're not thinking like Donald Trump. We're not thinking like Tony Robbins or Oprah Winfrey or anybody like that. With all due respect. But we also look at those people and we go, I couldn't be one of those people. Most of us would go, you know, from a female side, if we want to just separate the sexes, most females would go, I'm not Oprah Winfrey. And most men will go, I'm not Richard Branson. Yet they were born the same way, you know, came from a womb, took 2 people. They've just gone on their path. They've both been faced with adversity. They've both had no money. Tony Robbins gave away the last bit of, I think he was in a restaurant with $19 or $17 or something like that, and he gave it all to the family that couldn't afford to pay the meal. Like, they've all been through their own adversity, but they've just believed in where they're going, and constantly the universe has tested them, and they just kept believing and showing up and doing what they knew was right and that it was aligned with them. Now, we only put ourselves in a box where we go, that's success, because we believe that it is success. But is it really? Because somebody who doesn't really have fresh running water is going to look at you and go, that's success. Because Tony Robbins is too far out. They can't even comprehend that. But to just have a tap with fresh running water and a bed to sleep in at night is success. It's just a level of perception. And then if we want to go to another level, what do we have to do? We have to raise our vibration to get to that level. We don't have to work harder. Now, what was interesting, I've got this book here. It's just literally these 3 books have come in: The Science of Getting Rich, and then I've got another one, Simplified Leadership. And Beth's mum said, it's easy, just work hard. It's like, there's a lot of people working hard, and they haven't achieved financial freedom or whatever that would mean. So, you know, I watched both my mum and dad work hard, work multiple jobs, long hours, and work hard, and were dedicated. But I also remember growing up in my life struggling financially. And then you listen to the likes of Bob Proctor, Napoleon Hill, Alan Watts, Tony Robbins, and they're all saying there is a science behind it. And once you understand the science, it's so simple, but you need to connect with that science and implement it. And that means we've got to literally open this, take out what's in, because most of it's junk, it's not specialized knowledge, it's general knowledge that is all good on a quiz night, Friday night down the pub, but it isn't going to get you to where you want to go to. And then that's like Beth said to me, you don't read anything other than that. And I'm like, because it's not important to me, Beth. I can have conversations with anybody. I can mix with anybody, but I don't want to just be reading things that aren't serving me, getting me to where I want to go to create the impact that I'm here to create. You read these books, but you don't want to be around speaking to people. So there's completely two different sides. And I think that's where it's important to just look at it and go, okay, well, if I'm clear on where I'm going and I'm doing what success leaves clues, I'm doing what these people who I admire, who I believe are successful based in where I would like to go, maybe not on that level, but still go in the direction they are. Got to be looking at what they're doing. Got to be looking at who you want to align yourself around. Make sure it's the right people, because many of us have jumped into partnerships or we're in communities and we go, I'm not feeling like this. This is a great stepping stone. I was in a community and it was a great stepping stone. It was a learning process, but I turned around and said, I either continue here, going against my values, not becoming who I truly am here to be, or I step away and embrace it. And I stepped away and it just continued to grow. But I had to make a hard decision. And it's been one of the most empowering. But it comes back to, if you're clear on where you want to go, you're able to start looking around and going, thank you for the lessons. You're teaching me the way that I don't want to behave. I need to find the people that are going to help me get to where I want to go. So that's my experience anyway.
Thanks, Martin.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
I'm
going to have to go. There's nachos on the table in there, and I've got another call in 20 minutes.
Thanks, Martin.
You're welcome,
Yeah,
everybody.
bye.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Bye.
Martin.
Bye, everybody.
See you next
Thank
week.
you. Bye.
Bye,
Before you
bye.
go, we'll just be discussing the sixth sense. The sixth sense. Okay.
Okay.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.